Alrighty, well, enough about DJI. Let's stop. You know what? Let's stop talking about a company that is controversial and that some people love and some people hate. And instead, let's switch over and talk about TBS.
Yeah. All right. So everybody's been waiting for the Tango 2 and the Mambo to get the release of EdgeTX. It was planned for 2.6, which was in December. And then it was in Edge 2.7, which was in March. And unfortunately, if you scroll down to the bottom there, the milestone has now been pushed to 2.8.
Okay.
From 2.7. So 2.8 will be, let's see, like the April, May, June, so late June, early July release, I believe. Is how that works.
Yeah, so this is, for those who aren't familiar with GitHub, I mean, this is where they track the development of EdgeTX, and one of the things they've got is milestones for each of the development goals. And EdgeTX 2.7 is coming soon. It's not out yet. Has it released? I mean, they released so fast, I might have missed it.
No, it's not out yet, but it'll be out pretty soon, I believe. So.
And there was hope that support for the TBS Mambo and Tango 2 would be in 2.7, and now officially this is the word from the EdgeTX developers that it won't. And I mean, TBS has mentioned that one of their developers is based in Odessa, which is in Ukraine, and is so that, like, one of the things they seem to be implying is that, sorry guys, we're just not able to do this development. Although, as we discussed before the live stream, their developers have a lot on their hands right now, don't they?
Yeah, I think with the issues with Agent X they're working on to try to clean up Agent X and to get that working again. I mean, it seems like that's the goal anyway, because most people are using Agent M currently because there are issues with multi-flashing and breaking radios, soft breaking radios and stuff. And then there's issues with a lot of their firmwares. 613 and 614 had a manual binding bug. So if you updated to 613 or 614, even if you update off of it, I believe it automatically broke binding. So you have to manually button bind with everything. 617, they had to remove CRSF-v3 because that was having baud communication issues, baud handshake issues with some FCs on Betaflight. So it's just been kind of a real mess. And then also the fact that the new receivers are 6.10 and 6.14 minimum version, causing people to have to update to these versions.
Right. There have been a huge number of problems with TBS code, and I imagine their developers are incredibly overworked. And frankly, I would guess that getting a new operating system developed by a third party running on their radios is just not their top priority.
Yeah.
And I kind of don't blame them for that.
I would say so too. Well, I think Treppy was a little burned because I don't know if they weren't following correctly, or I didn't follow the backside of it, but basically the side that we were presented was EdgeTX updated, and when they updated, they brought it to RTOS. So they moved from the other operating system to RTOS, and so TBS had to do a lot of work to then change a lot of the code work they had done to RTOS, and that was the big hiccup. So
right. I think, that TBS basically was ready to go.
Correct. Yeah.
And then the EdgeTX devs were like, you know what? Actually, we changed a whole bunch of shit, and all your work is thrown out the window right now. Which everyone loves it when someone does that, right?
Yes, it's always popular. That's for sure. So
yeah.
So hopefully they'll get that done in the next few months. I know they've got a lot to work on, but we definitely at least wanted to get you updated on that, so you're not expecting it to come when it won't. So
yeah, it is worth saying though that this model that TBS is proposing is not typical of OpenTX radios, at least if I understand correctly. That normally what you expect is that you can download and flash whatever firmware on your radio that you want. And what TBS seems to be proposing is it's kind of like when you have a Samsung phone and Samsung builds a new version of Android for your phone, and then Samsung gives it to you, but you don't get it straight from Google. And TBS seems to be saying that they're going to build these firmwares and give them to you. You're not going to be able to get them the same way you would other stuff.
Yeah, it seemed like what they've talked about, and of course they've already had issues, so it may not work out like this, but I think the original vision was that Agent would be able to generate these, so that when there's a new version out, Agent would work to build through Agent instead of through OpenTX configurator or EdgeTX configurator. It would do the sort of building through OpenTX or I'm sorry, through Agent X, so that Agent X could format the bin for your radio properly because it needed to have the special Crossfire specialness in it. And that's because you're using the TBS bootloader. So something I've talked about before is that you could remove the TBS bootloader and load your own firmware on the radio and use the radio, but then you have no access to the TBS bootloader or the internal module that's in the radio.
And nobody who has a Tango or Mambo wants to give up their internal module. So.
Yes. Also, there's concerns because like both those radios use gimbals that are digital, and they're using a SPI bus instead of using converters and stuff. So it's a little bit different as well. How all that stuff kind of works together. So.
All right. Well, we will keep you updated when we find out more. In the meantime, EdgeTX 2.7, I'm sure we'll have some exciting stuff that we will also cover when it comes out.